Raising teenagers is hard. Understatement of the century. This is Mentor Select. Mentor Select. Parenting teens to be successful adults. Mentor Select serves parents who are raising teens. Every week, Derek interviews leading experts that work with teens, educators, counselors, mentors, and authors to give you practical tips, strategies, and resources that you can incorporate immediately to better connect and understand your teen. All while parenting them to be successful adults, focusing on social and emotional development, something that's left out of the classroom, but not in ours. Be sure to subscribe, share, and rate. This is Mentor Select, and this is your host, Derek Phillips.
All right, parents, today you're in for a great treat. We have April Tillettt joining us today. She's the program director for ScholarShot. How are you, April?
Wow, thank you so much for having me. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic and certainly happy to have you. I know previously had opportunity to interview Dan from ScholarShot, Dan Hopper, and also one of your ScholarShot scholars. So yeah, happy to have you join the family as well. So I guess the best place to start is tell us about ScholarShot.
Yeah, so ScholarShot, we're a college completion program. We are the brainchild of Dan Hooper. He's our executive director. He really just wanted to create a ministry. Well, first, it was a ministry where he was giving out funding and giving out a little, some advice to students from some challenged areas to help them get to college and to graduate. But as time went on, he was getting flooded with questions about, well, I'm trying to transfer to this school and use these credits. Why are these credits? And so he wanted the opportunity to help students in that regard, not just throwing money at them, but hey, let's help you get through this process. And so it became a nonprofit after that. But really what we do, what Dan's vision is, we've been able to make that and expand it 10 years later, which is graduating students primarily from low-income backgrounds and that identify as first-generation college students. So we provide financial support of up to $6,000 a year. The beautiful thing about ScholarShot is it's not just financial support for tuition and housing and books, like those traditional college expenses. It's actually, students are actually able to request those funding for everyday living expenses, for groceries and gas and rent. Because we know if they're focused on trying to pay those things, they're not going to be focused on their schoolwork. And we want to make sure that they can focus on that as well. And then we provide academic support. Students are assigned an academic manager who is a full-time staff member that will walk with the students through their entire college journey. So we are assisting students with selecting classes, with locating a major if they feel like their major is not up to par. Okay, how can we help you find out what you're good at so you can capitalize on a major that's going to get you to where you want to go. We're also helping them locate resources on campus or even outside of campus, and just being a support system, offering encouraging words, motivating talks when students are feeling maybe down or realizing that, college is a lot. I was not expecting this. Having somebody they can bounce ideas off of. And then emotional support comes with that as well. So just being there and having somebody in their corner at all times.
Wow. Yeah, you all have a pretty comprehensive services that you offer. You take that holistic approach.
It's a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. How did you first get started with ScholarShot?
So the funny thing is I worked as a college advisor, which moved me to the Dallas area. And then I moved into admissions. And I think I'm kind of over admissions for a little bit. I just, didn't like denying students. I had to be a salesman to get students, to meet our quotas. So I actually just kind of quit my job and was like, you know what? I'm going to rely on faith. And I was in my master's program at that time. And I'm going to continue to work on this master's program, and it'll work. It'll figure itself out. And Dan actually was recruiting for another academic manager at that time. Back in 2016, we only had one, so bringing in more students, and he wanted somebody else to be able to support our other academic manager. And he messaged me on LinkedIn and was like, "I see your experience. Would you be interested in being, applying to become an academic manager. If not you, can you refer somebody? And I was like, actually me, like I'm unemployed. This is perfect time.
Perfect time.
I did a phone interview. Yeah. I mean, like I said, nothing but God, honestly, because I rely on faith. And, I did a phone interview. I did 2 face-to-face interviews, and I started about a month later. So, and I've been here ever since. And it's just been a great journey.
Wow. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, certainly. God works in mysterious ways.
Yes, he does.
Certainly. And going back to something you mentioned regarding, I guess, the financial support that y'all provide, I think that's something that's really important because oftentimes students may get financial aid or some type of scholarships, but it may not cover those needs in terms of housing and food and like the essentials. So like you said, if they don't have that covered, then academics is going to come secondary in terms of their priorities. So,
absolutely.
That's really great. Now, I know at the time you said you got hired, they had one academic manager. So every student gets assigned an academic manager?
Yeah. So right now we have 156 students in our program. And so we have 2 full-time academic managers that actually have 50 students. So that's the ratio, 50 students to 1 academic manager. And then other 56 students are split between my colleague and I. We both have 4 managerial duties. So we split that. I mean, actually he has a little bit more than I do, but we have a subset of students, and we really wanted to do that so we could still have that experience working with students. So we can have conversations like this and not have to tell you, oh, well, we hear, from our academic managers that this is what's going on. And it's like, no, like I have students that I talk to at least twice a month who are telling me about their issues and their challenges. So we're able to be a part of that as well.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I just know just how valuable that is for students to have that person that they can come to, confide in, and just be that support system. And like you mentioned, throughout their entire college journey. Yeah, that's invaluable. Awesome. Now, does ScholarShot just focus on college degrees, or are there other areas that you all focus on getting students certifications or job training?
So certification. So we do help students with vocational and certifications. It's typically the either associate degree to bachelor route, or students who are going straight to get their bachelor's degree. But honestly, we would love to have more students who want to go into a trade. We don't think we get enough of those students, and I don't know if it's just because not community college, but universities are kind of pushed more. Like students are kind of like, I need to go 4-year, and there's not an emphasis on the fact that if you like to do things with your hands, there's so many, businesses and so many opportunities out there for you. You just need to go to the right school, right, and get connected with the right resources. I don't think enough students get that. But as long as students are going to a school in Texas, a nonprofit public institution in Texas, I know that's very loaded, but then student will support students. Go into vocation.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. And I remember talking with Dan about that, and just in how maybe a lot of students just don't realize the opportunities within trades. I have a lot of friends that works in trades, whether plumbers, construction, trucking, a lot of different areas like that, where they're making easily 6 figures. They're making great money.
Yeah, because they're using that and they're making their own businesses. And
Exactly.
Or we actually do have students too in our programs who their parents have done those things, have business in that regard. And, the students, they, for whatever reason, maybe that's just not what they want to go into, but they decide that they want to go get their degree, or they go get their degree and they're still working with the parent, on the side. But it's, and, if you went directly into that field, it'd probably be a lot quicker and you'd be well skilled, So it's just, I just don't think there's enough emphasis on it.
Yeah, I think that's the key, and just having that visibility, so that's a viable option. Certainly, 2020 has been a crazy year with COVID-19. How has that impacted your scholars?
Oh man, it's been a significant impact. Our students, well, for one, the major concern has been that of course students aren't in the classroom. So students who are doing or enrolled in, science classes where they're supposed to be going to labs and actually experimenting, and they're having to do virtual labs where they're just kind of doing like a simulation, and they're obviously like, this is weird, this is strange. I'm not. So we've had students who just are like, I'm not even really into this. I'm not really motivated. I have to motivate myself even more from home with my whole family, with, being in bed. So it's like it's not really a change for them. It's just like being at home, being on a break. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't want to be on Zoom all day long. So there's that instance. But then we've also had students who have had family members who have, lost their jobs. Our students themselves have lost their jobs. So they've had to, use some of these resources that are out there. We've had to assist them in that way, getting those resources, getting them connected to that. And then, on the worst side of it, we've had, I'd say, a handful of students who have lost family members from the coronavirus. So it has been threefold for us. I mean, it's kind of to support students, to encourage them to complete their degrees, but then also, they need to work because their parents might have lost some funding or lost their job. So they feel like they need to take that on as well. On top of trying to lost their jobs, on top of any lost, of family members. So we've just been checking students more regularly. I think we did a lot of that between March and June. We were calling students constantly, like, how are you doing? Like, what's going on? How can we help you? Checking in on their mental health, because we've just seen students who are like, I'm so unmotivated, especially the students who were graduating in May of 2020. They were like, I didn't know that whatever the date in March was going to be the last day I stepped foot on campus. I thought I still had, spring break can come back. I thought I could still do these last minute things. I get to graduate. They didn't even get to have graduation. So we've had students who also had to deal with that. And they're feeling guilty for being, sad that they're not getting a graduation. And we're like, no, this is a loss as well for you, so many layers that we've had to deal with, and just try to be that supportive service for students. But I do know that we've had some students who have said to us, I'm glad that ScholarShot was in our corner, and maybe they didn't realize how much ScholarShot would be there, because everything else was great outside of the pandemic. But when the pandemic hit is when they were like, you know what? Okay, now I see.
I think when it comes to like students have to doing their work virtually, not going to the classroom and the campus, I think what's overlooked too is the mental health part and the depression and what's required to keep them motivated. That's just, that thing just, wow, you can't quantify. And I'm sure they really do appreciate having that academic manager and ScholarShot support in a time like this, where they took it for granted before, but now they realize like, wow.
Because they can unload with us. Like, we're there, it's like, do you need to talk about anything? Do you just need to vent? And we've had students who just needed to vent. They were just like, this is unfair, it's frustrating. And all we can say is, we understand, because we have our own restrictions now that we have to live by. But at the end of the day, we want you to be able to deal with it in the way that you can, in a positive way. And let's just do the best that we can to get you through this online semester. So, and unfortunately, it's been 2 semesters. So, and I think it looks like the spring, it's going to be the same as well.
Yeah.
Doing the same for our students and just encouraging them as much as we can.
Yeah. Outlook for the spring is not looking good at all. I guess, what would you say to parents who maybe their kids are getting ready to graduate? I guess some things they can do to keep them motivated and just as far as help them kind of weigh their options for the next school year.
Yeah.
Whether they go to college or trade.
I think for a parent, I would just say be open-minded, and even to the student as well. I mean, the school, the university that you might have always dreamed that you wanted to go to may not be the right fit at this time, with whatever that is, with because of financial aid, because, like, for example, we've had students who maybe they were going to go off to a specific university, but because they were going to be living on campus, but not really going into class. It's like, well, that's money that you could be saving by residing at home. You know what I mean? If you're going to be in front of a computer anyways, it's not ideal, but at least it can save you some money. So just being flexible with that, and just knowing that, maybe it's not going to be the ideal situation for the student. The student's not going to have the typical university experience, but it'll get better. Just looking at the financial options and looking at other ways to save money in that regard. But I also would say to students and parents, just also looking at the different trades, looking at different opportunities for students. What is your student? What do you know that your child is good at? Maybe it isn't necessarily going out, whatever the degree is that they're trying to pursue. Maybe that degree is not at a four-year institution. Maybe it is at a community college. Community colleges have a lot of those trades that students go to these, some for-profit schools for.
Right.
The debt there is just astronomical. I mean, the student can go to the community college and get that same degree for a fraction of the cost. So keeping that in mind as well, that community college is a great resource. It's a great option. And it just might be the right step for your student right now while we're in a pandemic.
Yeah, that's great advice. Now, for the ScholarShot scholars who have completed their programs through you all, well, as far as having your support, have you noticed they have graduated with less debt?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Our students, we are a typical debt, I want to say, is maybe somewhere less than $5,000 for our students. And that's if the student, most of our students don't have any loans. I can't recall the percentage at the moment, but you could interview, if you were to do a small sample size of our students, most of them would say no, they don't have any loans. And that's because the loan amount that they would have gotten from, or they could have been offered for, ScholarShot, that $6,000 we give can easily replace that. And we also make that we're helping students go to the best fit school so that loans don't have to be an option.
Yeah, makes a big difference. I wish ScholarShot was around when I went to college. I definitely graduated with more debt than that. Yes, indeed. Now, for those listeners who may want to get involved as far as supporting ScholarShot, what are options?
Absolutely. So, number one, I would say becoming a mentor. A lot of our students do very well academically. Financially, they're good, especially with the ScholarShot support, but they just want more into a career. Like, what is this career that I'm going to school for going to actually look like for me day to day? What does this company look like that I've always aspired to work out? What is that going to look like for me day to day? So becoming a mentor can really give your student or the student you're paired with the opportunity to learn more from you and see your experiences, but also you can connect them to your own network where students can have more of a support system that'll help them get access to that career. So I would say number one, that we really need mentors that are in healthcare fields. Have a lot of students who want to go into becoming a doctor, becoming a nurse, or any type of those in that career field. So we can get some people who would love to mentor from that have that background. We would love that. So I would say the first thing. The second thing is also, if you don't have time to mentor, it is a small commitment, and I'm sure you can get my contact information from Derek, and we can talk further if you're interested. But if you want to also offer some support to our students, we do a career day opportunity, and we've been doing them on Zoom more recently, where we will have representatives from a specific company speak to students about their day-to-day life. So why did I get in this career? What does it look like at this company? Why do I work at this company? And this is what I do all the time. And this is what you can do to get in my position 5 years from now. So that is another opportunity as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's really important, because oftentimes I know students may think they want to work in a certain career field, but have no exposure to it. And they go through the whole degree program and realize, like, I'm really not, don't like this career field. So I think that's where mentors can help as well, just giving them that insight and let them know what the reality is versus maybe what they think it is. So
absolutely.
Make a huge difference, save a lot of time and money. Indeed. Now, what is the commitment for mentors, and what's the process for signing up to be a mentor?
Yeah, so the commitment, it's just reaching out to a student one time a month. So pretty much an hour a month, just reaching out to your student you're assigned to, meeting with them face to face or virtually at least once a semester, and then completing a 15-minute, probably less than that, maybe a 5 to 10-minute form that will be submitted to me, and you will submit that to me 4 times a year about your relationship with your mentee. So that's really, it is very, very simple. I mean, we would like for a mentor to commit to at least 2 years. That just gives you time to build rapport with the student and to help them either from freshman to junior year or from junior to or sophomore to senior year with what's going on. And then the applying is just going to ScholarShot.org and clicking the apply button and then just applying to be an adult mentor.
Ah, cool. Pretty straightforward. And
it's very simple.
Yeah. And then devoting an hour per month. Yeah, that's not a huge commitment at all. It can have a great impact. Yeah. Awesome. Right, cool. Now, with y'all having a lot of experience working with at-risk students, what are some challenges that, say, first-generation students deal with that you all see a lot?
I think number one would be students having to work to either help out their family or working just to make ends meet for themselves in college. Okay. And it seems like sometimes we'll have students where, each semester they take on a few more hours before it's and then they're trying to juggle full-time or close to full-time work schedule with full-time work school hours. And then something got to give, and typically it's the schoolwork that plummets. So that's number one. I think another would be in conjunction with that is students maybe having to still take care of their younger siblings or still do things around the house if they're living at home. And it's harder for them to have conversations with their families about, I really can't take this on because although I am at home, especially now, right, with COVID, I am in front of a computer, and it seems like I'm doing things very easily, but actually this is a lot of work. This is a lot of stress, and I have to spend a lot of time studying. So having those conversations, I think students navigate having those conversations. Another thing that we see is, I'd say, mental health, the struggles with mental health, getting access to counselors and therapists and people that can validate their feelings, that it's okay that you're overwhelmed. It's okay that you're feeling sad today. It's okay that you're anxious and you're worried and you're stressed. Let's figure out a positive way to deal with that. And I think it's, lack of education about the benefits of therapy, lack of access to therapy. So we see some of that as well. Yeah.
And also I think the negative stigma too with therapy.
Which we've done a good job of being able to recommend our students to either, community resources or, even just going to therapy or going to your counseling services on your campus. You have a number of them that are free depending on the institution you go to. And that's a good way to just start that practice of opening up and talking about your feelings and talking about what's going wrong and having somebody really validate and make you feel like, it's okay.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Some really good insight. And I think it's just really important for parents to have that insight because, like you said, on the outside looking in, it may look like everything's okay with their child or their teen. But yeah, they're carrying a lot. It's a huge burden. And I recently interviewed assistant principal for elementary school, and she even mentioned with even elementary students, like now with them learning virtually at home, they're being burdened with so many extra things, whether it's having now to take care of the other siblings and wash and cook and all these other things that they normally wouldn't be burdened with if they were in the classroom. So, it's a lot.
It's just hard to navigate. It's like how do we reassure them like things are going to be okay when things haven't really been okay? Things are they're kind of staying the same. There's not really any updates about, hey, we're going to be on campus soon. I mean, if anything, it's staying the same or it's getting worse. And some of our students, we brought in about 45 students this year for the 2020 cohort. So now their whole first year of college is going to be online.
Wow.
literally living in a historical moment where they can say, you know what, I remember, my college years, I was living online. I did not get to live in a dorm, or I didn't get to eat in a cafeteria. I didn't get to have meetings with my organizations. I barely went to games, like all these things that they probably were looking forward to for years. They're not able to. So it's like we felt like for them, we had to be extra supportive and extra available so they can talk to us and learn kind of what's normal, what if they weren't on campus, because they don't know that.
Yeah. They certainly are fortunate to have that support system through ScholarShot, because it's a lot of uncertainty. So to have someone there to help navigate that uncertainty is a big deal. Absolutely. Wow. Yeah, a lot of great gems just sharing with us, April.
Yeah.
Definitely. I was looking on scholarshot.org, your all's website, and one thing that really stood out to me, how y'all mentioned about really what the problem is, where 90% of at-risk students enrolling in college in Texas drop out. That's really alarming. Why you think that number is so high? And just, I know students working with ScholarShot, it's a lot lower. Y'all have 9 out of 10 actually earn it. So I guess what's making that big difference?
I think it might be, one is that students are not aware of all their options. I think students, a university, that's the thing that we are taught. We're taught that from little, right? We have all these college fairs and all these career fairs about going to a university and getting a degree. But I don't think that the student needs that. Again, it goes back to the point of the vocational and the trade schools. There are a lot of opportunities for students to make money there, and I don't think students realize that. So I think that's one part. And I think the second is maybe the availability of the resources, or the lack of availability of those resources on the campuses, because a lot of our college access partners are they talk to students about universities. They may not have time to talk to students about specific fit universities. So students are being pushed, or not even pushed, but just don't know about vocational degrees. They're also maybe being encouraged to go to some universities where they don't have enough money, or maybe academically it's a little bit more rigorous than what they can handle at that moment. They have a lot of other things that they have to do at home, and being away from their home is not going to be advantageous to get those things done. It can work to help your family. Like, that's part of your obligation. And yes, we want you to be able to live your life and have your life too. But if students really feel like they need to be a part of that, how are they going to do that when they're 500 miles away at a different university? Like, it's just, so I think it's not really understanding the whole dynamic of the student. I'm a social worker, so for me, we learn about person in the environment. So all the different factors in a person's life is what causes them to behave and act in a certain way. I think that's what the issue is. That sometimes the students, their whole story is not being heard or listened to, and it's like, well, this might be a better fit for you because it was a better fit for somebody else. When in reality, it's not the best fit.
Yeah, it certainly gives you perspective, looking at it from the person and environment perspective. Yeah. Wow. Indeed. And I think something that ScholarShot does a great job of is level setting and really setting the scholars' expectation as far as, can they handle the academic rigor that they're going to face at maybe some of these top universities, and really kind of letting them know, this is where I'm at right now, and this is where I want to go, but am I prepared? And what do I need to do to be prepared? And I think that's a key component that's missing from maybe a lot of just general advice that students get for college. It's just like, go there, apply, you get accepted, go, you'll be good to go.
I think for some students, it's acceptance means, financially fit. Like, it means like, if I got that means I should go there. And I feel like my own story. I mean, I'm technically first generation, but I have older siblings as well. And, in our life, it was like, okay, this university, really great university in the state of Texas, like, you definitely should go there. And experiences, I wouldn't take it away. But I mean, if I knew what I knew now, which I'm sure that's everybody, right? But I might have had less debt. I might have, might have went to community college first and then gone. I don't really know what would have happened. It's like you got to look at the whole story, the whole picture, look at all your options. And I think that's the thing, is just there's not enough of that. It's just like, this is my school choice, my other school choice, that's just very similar to school choice number one. And if those two things don't happen, then, well, I'll just figure it out. Or then I'll, enroll in community college when classes are already full and I can only do flex term, which is 8-week semester. You know what I mean? So I can go
right.
Derek, but I think that's essentially what the issue is just, I don't think there's enough emphasis on trades. And I think that students are not, there's not enough emphasis on getting the student to the right fit based on their whole story. Yeah,
really, really good point. Well, April, definitely appreciate you coming on and sharing all this great information with the Mentor Select audience. What would be a great way to get in contact with you and find out more about ScholarShot?
Yeah. So again, I'm, April Tillettt. I'm so grateful for all the listeners, and thank you, Derek, so much for this opportunity. A simple email, aprilT@scholarshot.org. You can send me an email on there, and I can answer questions about anything that you have related to college as well as related to ScholarShot.
Fantastic. Well, I wish you the best. I know y'all are going to continue making a great impact on their scholars' lives, and keep doing what you're doing. It's important. You're changing lives for sure.
Thank you. We're trying. One day, we're trying, one student at a time. So thank you so much.
You've been listening to Mentor Select. Mentor Select. Parenting teens to be successful adults. Hosted by Derek Phillips. Raising teenagers is hard. Understatement of the century. We get it. That's why Derek interviews leading experts that work with teens, educators, counselors, mentors, and authors to give you practical tips, strategies, and resources that you can incorporate immediately to better connect and understand your teen. That's why we do the show. Be sure to share Mentor Select with other parents of teens. Follow us on social media at Mentor Select to stay up to date on the latest tips, strategies, and resources for parenting teens. Send your questions and comments to derek@mentorselect.com. Tune in every Wednesday for new episodes. Till next time, this is Mentor Select.